Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
What's up, Nick? Ready for the top five?
Yeah, we're into the top five, and today we got special guest, OTG writer, Kory Waldron. What's up, Kory?
Hey, guys. Nick, Parth, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And today at number 5, we have the Los Angeles Clippers. Before we talk about the Clippers, here's a clip from last season.
Green on Paul, and he got it! 1 second left!
Dude, I can't believe he made that shot. Like the entire build up to the final possession of this game was incredible.
Yeah, arguably that was probably the best series in the playoffs.
And on one leg, too.
Clutch
Yeah, he was hurt, and I don't even think it's an argument. I think this was clearly the best series of the playoffs.
And everyone's always hating on Chris Paul, saying he can't win, and he hits that shot and it wins the series. Big moment for him. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was tough.
It's a shame it happened first round.
Yeah, very true. It's a shame that was a first-round series. That tells you how good the West is.
I think the NBA made it this year so that the records are the only, what's the word I'm looking for?
Deciding factor?
Deciding factor in seeding. Like, divisions don't matter anymore, in a sense. So you won't see this matchup again if the teams are that close in terms of the record.
Very true. Let's talk about this ranking. Do you think this is a fair rank for the Clippers?
I mean, they're a little bit higher on my list. I think the talent on this team is ridiculous.
They definitely stacked up their bench. What team would you maybe put underneath the Clippers?
Underneath the Clippers. Right, Houston. I don't know where you have Houston.
We just did Houston at 6. So far, we have left is the Cavs, the Spurs, the Warriors, and OKC.
Those teams. They might be higher than OKC in my books, but the other 4 teams are clearly better. I think just because of chemistry-wise.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think the Clippers are on paper one of the better teams. But I think, like Kory said, the chemistry of the teams in front of them, I think, will be the deciding factor, especially as a preseason rank, just because those teams have played longer together. I think they deserve to be ahead of the Clippers. But I think at the end of the season, if we redo the rankings, I think the Clippers will be top 3.
Yeah, the Clippers definitely have potential to go higher. Like we said, they have a lot of talent. It'll just be how they gel this season. Let's talk about key returners. We got Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan actually came back, Jamal Crawford. What players do you think are going to have a big season?
I think DeAndre Jordan was the biggest save, if anything, for this offseason for them. Keeping your big man who's your defensive presence and key rebounder, that just sets everything in place.
Especially because they pretty much lost him and they're able to keep him in place, and that keeps them in that championship contention because he's a big piece of this team.
Yeah, I was really happy when DeAndre Jordan decided to come back to LAC and have that whole house arrest chicken and whatever they did there, chicken and video games. But I think he keeps them elite. But if he went to Dallas, they would just be like another playoff team in the West. So I'm happy he stayed. But I think the biggest returner for this team is JJ Redick. I think he's sneaky good. I think he's really, really valuable for the Clippers.
Yeah, he definitely is good. He's a big-time shooter. He's even added to his game a little bit. He played decent defense, I think, on James Harden last year as well for some of that series. And we all know he knocks down his shots. What do you guys think is the best offseason move? I know they picked up Paul Pierce. They added some other guys, Josh Smith. What do you think is the best move the Clippers made?
I'm kind of biased, but I love the Lance Stevenson move. I think because of his versatility, he can play the point, he can play shooting guard, he can play the 3. He just creates. I think having Paul Pierce to mentor him and Chris Paul will keep his personality in check, but he gives you an edge, and Pierce gives you an edge. I love the move of Stevenson.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Lance works out if he can get his act together. Being a Pacer fan, that he was great for the Pacers, especially when they were a top team in the East. So if Doc Rivers, Chris Paul, Paul Pierce can get him get his attitude together, he should be good to go.
My 2 favorite moves are definitely Lance Stevenson, and I pick him because he gives the Clippers just another a ball handler in the pick and roll that can actually create for others. Jamal Crawford definitely plays in the pick and roll, but he's more of a scorer off of that, and Lance Stevenson is a little bit better playmaker and passer. And so, like, Chris Paul has to do so much for this team. Like, I don't think people really respect like what he does for this team year in, year out. And he should be a top flight MVP candidate every season, just because he has the ball in his hands every single play and has to make the correct decision. And he does that 95% of the time. But people like to talk about the 5% when he doesn't make the correct decision. But that's so much pressure. Just imagine Steph Curry having to play Chris Paul's role in this team. You won't see those behind the back flashy passes that Steph Curry might throw out of bounds every now and then, because Chris Paul doesn't have the luxury that Steph Curry has in order to do that. But so I think having Lance Stevenson there will take some of the ball handling duties and pressures off of Chris Paul, so he doesn't have to do it every single play in the game. And then also having Paul Pierce there to take late game shots. As a sub 6 foot point guard, it's hard getting your shot every time, especially when you need it in late game scenarios. So having someone like a 6'7", 6'8" Paul Pierce to take that pressure off of Chris Paul, I think will only help this team in late game situations.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely also another point with Lance. He actually plays good defense too, so that's another nice defender for them. And Chris Paul, he does so much for the Clippers. They rely on him for everything. And I like the fact they got Paul Pierce, because I feel like if they had Paul Pierce in this team last year, they probably don't lose that series to the Rockets.
Yeah. And Josh Smith is also a great addition. I mean, he was kind of a lackluster season, but in the postseason, he was great for the Rockets.
Yeah, he was one of the reasons Houston beat the Clippers. So that was nice.
We talked about that with Houston, how it's ironic that he's with the Clippers now after he sent them home. And they got him for scraps, so it's a great signing. Doc, I think everyone's been critical of Doc the GM the last couple of seasons, but after convincing DeAndre Jordan to come back, he definitely had a fabulous offseason.
Yeah, they definitely retooled their bench. Any moves you guys don't like from the Clippers this offseason?
I like almost every move, to be honest. I mean, Spencer Hawes might have been okay to keep, but you need to get rid of him in order to get Stevenson, so I understand it.
Yeah, Hawes didn't really do a ton for them last year, so I'm okay losing him. I expected him to do a lot bigger things for the Clippers last year, especially with his three-point shot, but he didn't do much of anything.
Yeah, they gave him the mid-level. I think they gave him the full mid-level, and they didn't play him. Like Doc signed this dude and then didn't play him. So I didn't quite understand what was going on with that dynamic. But The question I have about their offseason is they did get rid of their starting three in Matt Barnes. So who takes that role as a starting swingman for this team? I know they have a ton of candidates to do it. Like they have Paul Pierce, Josh Smith, Wesley Johnson, who some people consider a starter. And then Lance Stevenson could probably play some three. Who do you guys think will end up playing starters minutes?
I think Pierce will probably start. I'm not sure if he'll play the starter minutes. I could see Lance definitely seeing a good amount of time at the three, but I think Pierce will probably just start because of the respect, and then Doc Rivers being the coach.
Yeah, I definitely see Pierce starting, but he's definitely not going to get starter minutes. His body just won't be able to hold up throughout the season. So you'll see a smaller lineup probably with Stevenson in the three a lot, but
yeah.
So I heard on another podcast that they were joking around saying that, hey, there's no way Wesley Johnson would start, but I actually think he's a decent option for them just because he's athletic, he can get up and down. But I think if he does start, he has a really, really short leash. So like 3-4 minutes into the first quarter, Paul Pierce is subbing in for him, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd actually probably see Wesley Johnson be the one subbing in, like bring energy off the bench. Like you mentioned, he's athletic, so he can really give him a nice little energy boost off the bench. So I'm sticking with Pierce.
It's a good problem to have that many options.
Exactly. But let's talk about X factors for the Clippers this season. What do you guys think is going to be the X factor?
Personally, I think it's going to be Josh Smith, to be honest. I think if he can produce with that, I mean, they're getting him for nothing. They're not paying him much. If he can produce like he did in the postseason, without a doubt.
Yeah, he can definitely give him a nice addition off the bench, first big off the bench. They can even play him and Blake together a little bit, and that'll be a tough little defense because they both have pretty. Blake has a nice mid-range shot. I would guess it's not pretty to watch, but he's pretty consistent with it. And Josh likes to shoot threes. He's hot and cold with that, though.
You know, I actually have no clue who to pick in terms of players as my X factor, just because I think like Chris Paul could always be an X factor for this team, just because his health the last couple of seasons has been up and down. Even Blake Griffin's health has been up and down. DeAndre's been the most steady of these guys, but his free throw shooting is weak, so he can't really be in the game at the end. But I think if DeAndre Jordan, we'll go with this. DeAndre Jordan's free throw shooting is the X factor for this team. I remember watching a episode of NBA TV's Open Court where Isaiah Thomas was really clowning on Karl Malone and having him as the weak link of the Utah Jazz in '97 and '98 when they lost against Jordan. And his reasoning was that you couldn't pass the ball to Malone at the end of the games just because he couldn't make his free throws at the line. And I think they lost Spencer Hawes, right? Yeah, they did. So if you want to take DeAndre Jordan out and play Blake Griffin at the 5 at the end of games if DeAndre can't make his free throws, how does that work when you go against a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, who have 2 bruisers who will play at the end of games? So I think if DeAndre Jordan can stay on the court at the end of games by improving his free throw shooting, I think it'll take this team to that top 3 ranking like I think they will end up getting.
My X factor, I'm going to go with Blake Griffin. In the playoffs, he honestly had some games where he looked like one of the best players in all of the NBA. He was scoring, he was setting up teammates, he was rebounding. He fell off towards the end. I want to see if he can play at that high level like he did in the beginning of the playoffs all season long, because that could really push the Clippers over the top. And we all know Blake adds to his game every summer, so it'll be interesting to see what he did this year.
He had 4 triple-doubles, right, in the postseason?
Yeah, some ridiculous.
Dude, hopefully in terms of his additions, he fixed that mid-range jump shot. I think that is one of the ugliest shots I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's ugly, but it does go in. So
yeah, I don't know how he makes it. I think that's why he's so special. He can make that shot. That's when you know you have real talent, when you shoot ugly stuff like that and it goes in.
Best case scenario for the Clippers this season.
Best case scenario is they stay healthy. They stay healthy and the talent actually gels together.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They stay healthy. They get some nice chemistry with all these new players. Everyone fits into a nice role, and they win a championship, because I think that this team can win a championship.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. Those are my 2 best case scenarios. Just the gelling, the chemistry. It has to be there from day one in the West, to be honest. And championship aspirations are definitely there for this team. It's basically championship bust, championship or bust.
Exactly. Worst case scenario for the Clippers.
You have Josh Smith and Lance Stephenson's hard-headedness cause internal difficulties.
I would agree with that. That's a very good point, Kory, because those 2 guys can definitely mess things up. I think Chris Paul and Doc should be able to hold them in check, but the chemistry could be an issue with this team. We know Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan haven't always got along as well, so chemistry, worst case scenario would probably be a first-round knockout, because they end up not getting a high seed and have to face one of these big teams in the West.
Right, there's definitely an elite 6 in the West, and so ending up with I think to kind of avoid that, you need one of the top 2 seeds. But I don't think the Clippers will end up with that. So yeah, first round knockout.
Yeah, so especially you got teams like the Spurs who just made so many improvements, and then you can't disrespect Golden State. So getting those top 2 seeds is going to be very difficult.
Right.
Let's talk about the truth. And today's emoji, Parth, what is it?
You know, we're gonna go with the Rocket, not because Paul Pierce did it. Well, actually, yeah, it's because Paul Pierce did it. He sent shockwaves throughout the Twitterverse because the man didn't know how to post an emoji. So this is a shout out to you, Paul Pierce. Thank you for the solid material.
Thank you for the truth segment. It's one of our favorites. But a question for you guys: you gonna watch the Clippers on League Pass?
100%. I think his team is going to be electric. I mean, Josh Smith can dunk, Jordan can dunk, Griffin can dunk, Lance Stephenson has shown some dunking ability. This team's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, this team definitely has a lot of exciting factors. DeAndre Jordan's always throwing down on someone. Same with Blake Griffin. He had some nice dunks on Aaron Baines last year. And you got Chris Paul setting everybody up. So, entertaining team to watch for sure.
Yeah, to be honest, though, they have 24 nationally televised games.
That's a good chunk right there.
Yeah, that's one of the highest in the league. And so, if you want to watch them, you won't need League Pass. They'll definitely be on national TV.
Yeah, very true. So, would you guys rather watch the Clippers or Parks and Recs?
Depends on who the Clippers are playing. If they're playing the 76ers, I'm probably going to watch Parks and Rec.
Fair point, fair point. I really love Parks and Recs, but I really do love the way the Clippers play, so I'll probably go with the Clippers. Sorry, Leslie, nope.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple episodes of Parks and Rec. Maybe if I started, I feel like it's a show that you don't want to stop watching.
100%.
I haven't started it yet, so we'll go with the Clippers.
All right. Sorry, Parks and Rec, but the Clippers take the W. Thank you guys for listening. And a hint for our next team, they have a former MVP returning.